America's tourism crisis nobody's talking about. Foreign visitors are abandoning the U.S. in record numbers, and it's costing billions. Oxford Economics predicts an $8.5 billion drop in international visitor spending this year, while the World Travel and Tourism Organization estimates an even more alarming $12.5 billion loss. The proof? Flight bookings to the U.S. between May and July have already plummeted by over 10%. This isn't just a blip, it's a trend with massive economic consequences. While other destinations flourish, America is losing its appeal to global travelers. What's driving this exodus? And can the U.S. tourism industry recover before it's too late?
So I've canceled my next trip to the United States. I was meant to be going there in later April. I was looking forward to it as well, like going to Boston, New England, beautiful places, lovely people. In fact, I even have both friends and actually some relatives in Maine, but I've canceled it because ICE or whatever the hell it is detaining people. I mean, they detained a young Canadian for 10 days. They apparently arrested a bunch of Germans recently. They're going through people's phones. Like, this is meant to be, the United States is meant to be the beacon of democracy and freedom and so forth. Well, it is anything but. This is what fascism actually looks like. It is awful in North Korea, and it is awful in Saudi Arabia, and it is awful in Iran. So we can all be honest about that. But when that sort of thing settles in to what we consider to be the free world, that is the erosion of any value that we actually stand for. So I bring business to the United States, right? I run tours. Well, I'm not going to now. It's shocking, but I woke up 3 days in a row worrying about flying down there. And then I talked to someone I know kind of on the inside who said, don't fly in if you're not an American citizen. Like, this is how terrible it is at the moment. So it's sad and it's shocking, but hey, I'm off to Europe in a few days. I can fly down to South America, a lot of beautiful places. And American friends are welcome up here, absolutely. But if you're going to come up and wave a Trump flag.
Okay, this is for the Europeans who may be watching me, because Trump just enacted a travel ban for a whole bunch of countries, and he's claiming that the reason for this is to keep us safe and because he doesn't want what's happening to Europe, what's happened to Europe, to happen to the United States. I would love to hear from Europeans. If you are watching this and you live in Europe, let me know what country you're in, and if you want to be like the USA. If you would prefer your country to be more like the United States of America, especially in its current state. Just curious. I'm going to hazard a guess that the answers are generally going to be an absolutely the fuck not. But I could be wrong. I know there are weird European MAGA types that would like to live under what we're dealing with over here. I don't believe in any way whatsoever that a travel ban is going to keep us safe. I mean, we're already in danger from the people that live here. I don't think banning people based on what country they're from is going to make a difference. I would love to hear from Europeans, though, if there are any following, any watching. Let me know what you think.
Whoa. Okay, so don't come to America right now. I mean, all the obvious reasons why, but this is not safe for you. I just heard about 2 German young men who flew in to Honolulu Airport who were detained by ICE. They were questioned for hours. They were strip searched, naked, strip searched. They were placed in green jumpsuits, and they were put in a holding cell with criminals. Don't come here. It's not safe. It's not safe for me. I'm born and raised here. It's not safe for me. It's definitely not safe for you. Please, 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 please. Don't come here right now.
We should boycott Christmas. That's what's gonna hurt them. Fine, we can't all do a general strike. I get it. Let's boycott Christmas. We don't need material things anyway. It's 2025. Do you really want to buy all this stuff from the companies that laid everyone off this year? I don't think so. What we want is more time anyway, with our families, with our friends. If you work that day, call off, call in sick. Let's boycott Christmas. We can do this. Let's hurt them where it really counts. Come on, we got this.
Since President Trump took office, there have been incidents of tourists being held by ICE for weeks. Now, European countries making it clear, even if you do have a visa, you are not guaranteed entry to the U.S. Britain, Germany, Finland, and Denmark among the countries who have updated their travel advisories. The United Kingdom warning its citizens you may be liable to arrest or detention if you break the rules. Germany's Federal Foreign Office making its own updates to the travel advisories, saying travelers that even have a valid authorization permit or U.S. visa doesn't guarantee the right to enter the country, and if refused, there is no legal action to take against the decision. And Denmark telling its transgender citizens to contact the U.S. Embassy before traveling to the United States, the U.S. only recognizing two genders, male or female. A travel expert I spoke with says she's concerned about these travel warnings.
There are hundreds of thousands of Americans who work in the travel industry, so this could be very bad for the economy in general.
A woman in Washington who migrated to the U.S. more than 50 years ago has been detained in Tacoma for over a month. Her family says she was stopped by Custom and Border Protection when returning from a trip to the Philippines. They say Lulyn Dixon, who is 64 years old, is a lawful permanent resident of the United States. An immigration attorney telling the family there's a potential reason for her detainment, an embezzlement conviction in 2021.
It's been so long, then it happened, and that was a mistake. She's been here over 50 plus years. Like, you would think that being a permanent resident is protected.
Now back to the travel warnings to the U.S. We reached out to the Department of Homeland Security asking what changes have been made to immigration policy, but we've yet to hear back. Steve, Natasha.
Have there ever been travel warnings against the U.S. before, or is this a first?
No, this is not a first, actually. There's been warnings about gun violence, but nothing of this magnitude. Remember, the Custom and Border agents do have the ability to deny you entry and not tell you why.
So it's Anthony here. I just popped to say hi. Thank you for watching my videos. It means a lot to me. So let's continue watching these clips and tell me in the comment section, what is the incentive of visiting United States at the moment? What do you think? If you come from other countries, tell me what motivates you to come to the United States, especially at this time of the year. So let's continue watching, and I'll be making my conclusion at the end of this video.
This pains me to say it, but your athletes and your fans are not safe in the United States right now. Every country in the world, except for the United States, needs to have a serious conversation about whether or not they should be boycotting the upcoming Olympics and the upcoming FIFA World Cup in 2026, both of which are going to be held in the United States. This story very much went under the radar last week. The Senegal women's basketball team was set to come to the U.S. for 10 days for training. It's very common for other countries to come here. You get away from home. There's no distractions. You have guest speakers come in. You have guest coaches come in. Sometimes you might scrimmage with a college or some other, semi-pro team like that. And the U.S. athletes do this too. They go to other countries and they scrimmage with other athletes, and you're just away from home and you can just concentrate on the task at hand, which is playing your sport. 5 players and 7 officials' visas were not approved. No reason was given for this. And by the way, the Senegal women's basketball team is one of the best women's basketball teams in Africa. This is going to keep happening more and more as we get closer to the Olympics and as we get closer to the World Cup. The World Cup kicks off July 11th, 2026, just about a year from now. You are going to see athletes from around the world being detained by ICE. You're going to see athletes not allowed to come into the country. I wouldn't be surprised if some shady country went to dictator Trump and said, hey, don't let Germany's star soccer player in. Let's make something up about him because it'll help my team win the World Cup. And in exchange for that, I'll donate $1 million to Mar-a-Lago. This pains me to say it, but your athletes and your fans are not safe in the United States right now. They are not. ICE will pick them up for no reason whatsoever, just because they might look different than everybody else. Every country right now needs to be having a conversation with their athletes. And if every country besides the U.S. boycotts the World Cup and boycotts the Olympics, maybe you can hold your own version of it. Just cut out the U.S., go hold it somewhere else. The World Cup is being held in the U.S., yes, but also in Mexico and Canada. So If you all say you're going to boycott the World Cup, they'll just move the games to Canada and they'll move the games to Mexico. The next Summer Olympics is in July of 2028 in Los Angeles, California. And that one's a little bit more difficult. You can't really reschedule that. And I understand people train their entire lives and you only get one shot every 4 years to win the gold medal. I understand all of that. But if every country says we're not comfortable coming to the United States, we're going to boycott. If every country does that, go hold your own Olympics somewhere else. Just do it. You can organize this. If everyone says they're not going to come, the Olympic Committee will have zero choice but to go somewhere else. They can figure it out. There's still 3 years to do it. And I said it twice before in this video. I'm going to say it a third time. Your athletes, your fans are not safe in the United States right now. And every country needs to have a serious conversation with themselves whether or not they should be boycotting the World Cup in 2026 and the Olympics in 2028. And you know there's lots of brown and black people from other countries that are going to come here. And something's bound to happen. ICE is going to mistakenly take somebody, mistakenly arrest somebody. Fans who are here legit because they just want to have a nice vacation and go see their team play soccer are going to mistakenly be rounded up by ICE. It will happen. It's already happening with tourists. There's proof of it. It's definitely going to happen during the World Cup, and it's definitely going to happen during the Olympics if President Bonespurs keeps this shit up.
No, we are set to lose $31 billion in tourism alone in 2025. This MAGA Republican today, still on October 10th, who is a travel agent apparently, is still going hard for Trump. Even though farmers are begging, absolutely begging for help, and they have sold $0 in soybeans because Trump ruined our trade with China. Did you know Canadians spend $20 billion a year coming to the United States of America? But wait, that $20 billion creates 140,000 jobs. But this travel agent, this MAGA travel agent on October 10th, despite the fact that the Republicans control the House, the Senate, the presidency, and the Supreme Court, blames the Democrats. Quote, "Smart people don't like me," end quote. Donald J. Trump.
Don't travel to the U.S. and don't buy American goods. I understand the gravity of that request coming from me. And I fully understand that there are a lot of people that can't do it. So let me explain myself. If you're watching this and you don't know who I am, I'm an American who's living abroad in Aotearoa, New Zealand, and one who is fearing for the state of the States at the moment. But as the world watches the States, there is a sense of absolute disgust with what's happening. And there's a sense of hopelessness and futility as we watch the United States of America become the Democratic People's Republic of America. This is something that we can do to directly affect what's going on. First is, don't travel to the States. This is especially true if you are not a white person. I hate to say it that way, but it is very true. Migrant hate is at an all-time high. And just watching it and hearing the stories, I do not feel like it's safe for you guys to go. But besides that, if you go to the States, all the money that you spend on that holiday eventually goes back into the economy and then supports the administration. Because all that revenue earned on tourism gets taxed. And all that tax money goes straight to you-know-who. Another thing that we can do here is to boycott American goods. I know that that's a big ask. In some places, that's not going to be as big an issue because they're getting tariffed and all these goods are becoming so expensive you don't want to buy them anyway. But in a place like Aotearoa, the tariffs don't necessarily affect us as much here. So some American goods are going to be cheaper, especially when we're having kind of a cost of living crisis here. But where you have the option, please try to avoid American goods if you can. I'm just as guilty of this. There's so many vices I have that come out of the States. But one of the only things you can do is hit him in the pocket. One of the main reasons that he got in was on promises of making things cheaper and more affordable and creating American jobs. All while completely forgetting that his biggest donors, that the biggest part of American industry comes from world trade and international money. Look, I know it's a big ask. I really do. And it's going to be hard for me too. And I'm not going to be able to give up all American goods. But where possible, as a world community, let's make a stand as best we can and say that we're not happy with how he's treating the global community. Feel free to disagree with me. That's the beauty of the internet, but it's just something to think about as we're going through this, that this has been the first 3 months and we've got 4 years of it. And he so far has gotten away without thinking that he has any consequences. And all we can do is try to give him some consequence. Because a great teacher of mine has told me there's only 2 ways that people learn anything. That's wisdom and consequence. And if you won't listen to wisdom, you have to face the other one.
So y'all know them travel advisory reports that the United States loves to push out, basically telling us to not go to certain places because they're violent or it's not safe. Yeah, so the Department of Commerce has now issued a report showing a growing list of countries advising their citizens to not come to the United States, to not come and visit the United States. Yeah, now we are not the safe country. So I'm reading from an article that you can find on Forbes.com, right? So it says that the United States government reported a double-digit overall drop in international arrivals last month, with much bigger losses coming from Canada, Mexico, and lucrative Western Europe markets, suggesting foreign tourists are staying away in significant numbers due to the tariff backlash and even harsher immigration tactics. So I'm just going to read off some of these statistics. So in the Caribbean, they have seen a 26% drop from visitors and tourists. Africa, 10% drop. South America, 11% drop. Central America, 24% drop. Asia is a 1% drop. And now the 2 largest governments, or the 2 largest European markets, the United Kingdom is down 15%, and then Germany is down 29%. These governments are telling their citizens to not come over to the United States, not visit the United States, in fear that ICE agents will detain their citizens and not bring them back to their native land, which we see is the case here in this administration. If they come here, God forbid, get detained by ICE, ICE will not allow them to prove that they're visiting, will not allow them to prove their visas. They will most likely send them to a detention center and then ship them over to El Salvador's mega prison, just like they did with that teenage New York Bronx kid that's actually from Venezuela. Instead of deporting him to his native country, they deported him to the mega prison. Yeah, that's what they don't want to happen, because if that happens, there's no way for people, their actual family and their government to even be made aware of what's going on, because ICE agents will not inform nobody. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt was actually questioned on this yesterday during a press conference, to which she said, I haven't even seen the report. I haven't even seen the report. As the White House Press Secretary, is that not your job? Is that not your job to be aware and to manage the reputation of the government? Instead, she decided to say, while I haven't seen the reports and I would have to read it in order for me to effectively comment, I do believe that the administration that we're in right now is so much safer and so much better than the one that we were in previously 4 years ago. So I don't know why they would be advising their citizens to not come over here. It's because of this administration's policy and their harsh immigration tactics. That's why. These are tourists that often have to come over here on a visa. ICE agents are not allowing people to even prove their legal status. Why the fuck would anybody come over here? Just so you know, the United States makes $2 trillion in tourism. $2 trillion that we're starting to lose now. And that $2 trillion is tied up in the United States GDP, which is part of the reason why the US dollar is the world's reserve currency. That goes down. I think you know where I'm going with this. So now, thanks to this administration and all of its dumb policies, we are facing a possible recession, inflation. The entire world globally is laughing and mocking our democracy and our government. We are now starting to lose profit that we make on tourism. And as a New York City native, I'm not going to lie, we could use a little less tourism here in New York City. But overall, for American economy, that's not a good thing. It's not a good thing at all. Maybe if this administration wasn't too worried with trying to rack up and rally as many free slaves to ship over to that mega prison in El Salvador, we wouldn't have to be dealing with.
So my special thanks to everyone who has watched this video to the end for the support. It really means a lot to me. So make sure that you comment so that you can engage in a discussion. Don't watch and leave, comment so that we can engage in dialogue. And don't forget to go into my community post. We really make amazing posts there. So what I usually want to say is the fact that the travel advisory from other countries, especially our friends, our allies, it's a bad precedent which is being set. Don't travel to the United States, the land of the free. Don't travel to the land of the free. So what motivates these countries to place travel advisory to the United States, And all of this has happened under Donald Trump, As long as your skin color ain't white, as long as you don't speak English, don't bother traveling to the United States. That's what these countries are telling their citizens. We have ICE literally everywhere, grabbing anyone in the streets, taking them to detention centers whereby you don't even have means to communicate with your friends, with your families. It's literally happening here. And what is the end goal of all this? Because I don't know. What is the end goal of what Trump is doing? We are being isolated from the external world piece by piece. And soon we might become North Korea, isolated from everyone. So all this chaos has really brought a near collapse to our tourism industry, and it's happening rapidly. Our tourism industry is suffering. We need this foreign cash. There are in some cities or in some places where they depend on tourism. Like tourism season is here, they make as much money as they can to survive the whole year. Then they wait for the other season. you know, yeah, literally, there are some places where they say that way. And when these policies affect tourism, when Trump's bad economic policies causes Americans to be skeptical when it comes to spending, it really affects the tourism industry. Hotel businesses, they are being hit hard by Trump's policies. So Trump is bankrupting our country as he bankrupted his businesses after inheriting 400 million US dollars from his father. So Trump inherited a booming economy from Joe Biden, from Barack Obama, and what has he done? He has put us in a debt crisis. He has put us at a bad place with our friends, with our allies, other countries. You know what I mean? So it's really bad what's happening, and the only way to stop these menace was to stop this train running across the cliff is by talking blue, listening blue, watching blue, voting blue. And until the next video, thank you for your attention to this matter.